Listen to me with the depth of your spirit awakened, because what I am about to say is not meant for casual hearing, but for those whose hearts are trembling with expectation. A great shaking is already moving through the unseen realm. And before the season, when the year closes and the world pauses to reflect, those who say they belong to God will find themselves standing at a crossroads where destiny, obedience, and surrender collide with undeniable force. This is not a message for tomorrow or for some distant age. This is a word for now, pressing against your conscience, knocking on the door of your faith, demanding a response while there is still time to respond. Many who claim to trust God believe that life will continue as it has always been, that the rhythm of days will remain familiar, predictable, and comfortable. But I tell you with a burning urgency that the coming months will expose what has been hidden beneath routine belief. God is not interested in surface devotion or inherited faith. God is looking into the secret places of the heart, measuring hunger, weighing obedience, and testing whether faith is alive or merely spoken. Before the year reaches its sacred turning point, those who belong to God will feel an inner pressure, a divine insistence, compelling them to choose between comfort and consecration. There will be an intensifying awareness among believers that something is shifting. Restlessness will rise not from fear, but from awakening. Many will sense that God is calling them higher, deeper, and further than they have ever gone before. Old excuses will lose their power. Familiar compromises will begin to feel heavy and unbearable. What once felt acceptable will suddenly feel empty because God is purifying desire. This purification will not be gentle for everyone. For some, it will feel like fire, burning away self-reliance, pride, and hidden resistance. Yet within that fire is mercy, because God only purifies what God intends to use. Before the close of the year, separation will become unmistakable. Not a separation of people from people, but a separation within hearts. Those who hunger for God will grow more sensitive to the voice of God, while those who cling to convenience will grow increasingly uncomfortable with spiritual demand. God will not force obedience, but God will allow circumstances to press until true priorities are revealed. The faithful will begin to walk with clarity, while the distracted will feel confusion. This is not punishment, it is exposure. God exposes in order to heal, and God reveals in order to restore. Many believers will experience a deep inner confrontation. Long-standing prayers that seemed unanswered will suddenly return to the forefront of the soul. God will ask, do you still want what you once asked for, even if it cost you everything? This question will echo in quiet moments and restless nights. Some will realize they prayed for change but resisted transformation. Others will discover that God was silent not from absence, but from preparation. Before the year turns, faith will be refined from words into action, from emotion into obedience. Expect an increase in spiritual sensitivity. Dreams will become vivid. Convictions will sharpen. The inner witness of God will grow stronger, clearer, and more demanding. Many will feel drawn to solitude, reflection, and deeper surrender. Noise will lose its appeal. Distraction will feel exhausting. God is drawing believers into alignment, because alignment precedes release. When alignment comes, resistance falls away, and what God has prepared begins to manifest with unstoppable force. Some who have walked faithfully for years will suddenly find themselves facing unexpected trials. Do not mistake this as abandonment. God often allows pressure before promotion. The weight you feel is not meant to crush you, but to strengthen you. Just as metal is forged through heat, faith is formed through endurance. Before the year's end, many believers will emerge from difficulty with authority they did not previously carry, because suffering surrendered to God always produces depth. At the same time, hidden blessings will surface. Opportunities long delayed will open suddenly. Resources will come from unexpected places. Favor will rest upon those who have remained obedient when no one was watching. God has not forgotten the quiet faithfulness of those who endured without recognition. Before the season closes, there will be moments of divine acceleration where years of preparation will be rewarded in days. This is not coincidence, it is timing. Yet understand this clearly. Not everyone who claims faith will welcome what is coming. Some will resist the call to deeper commitment. They will cling to habits, attitudes, and loyalties that God is asking them to release. This resistance will create inner turmoil. Peace cannot coexist with disobedience. The unrest many will feel is not caused by the world, but by the soul's refusal to yield fully to God. Still, even this unrest is an invitation. God is patient, but God is also precise before the year concludes. Believers will be confronted with the reality that faith is not passive. Trusting God demands response. It demands alignment of thought, speech, and action. Those who respond will find strength rising within them, courage they did not know they possessed, and clarity that cuts through confusion like light through darkness. Those who delay will feel time pressing because seasons do not wait for indecision. There will be a renewed awareness of accountability. Believers will sense that life is not merely about survival or success, but about stewardship. Time, influence, resources, and opportunities will be seen through a sharper lens. God will ask, "What have you done with what I placed in your hands?" This question will not be asked with condemnation, but with expectation. God believes in the potential placed within every believer, and that belief carries weight. Fear will attempt to rise, but fear will not prevail where trust is exercised. God is not releasing fear, God is releasing discernment. Discernment will protect, guide, and empower those who seek it. Confusion belongs to those who ignore wisdom, but clarity belongs to those who listen. Before the year's turning, many believers will find themselves standing firm in decisions that once frightened them, because courage grows where faith is practiced. There will also be reconciliation. Broken relationships will be healed where humility replaces pride. Forgiveness will flow where bitterness once lived. God is restoring what was fractured because unity strengthens purpose. However, reconciliation will require honesty. Superficial peace will not last, but truth spoken with love will create lasting restoration. This process may be uncomfortable, but it will be necessary for what God is preparing next. As the year approaches its sacred pause, believers will recognize that faith is not about waiting for heaven, but about living aligned with God now. Daily choices will feel heavier with meaning. Words will carry more weight. Intentions will matter more than appearances. God is awakening conscience, because awakened conscience produces transformed living. Some will feel a renewed call to serve, to give, to speak, to stand. Others will feel called to be still, to listen, to rebuild foundations that were neglected. Both are acts of obedience. God does not measure obedience by visibility, but by faithfulness. Before the year closes, many will discover that their quiet obedience carried greater impact than their public effort. Do not expect this season to be easy, but expect it to be purposeful. Expect challenge, but also expect strength. Expect exposure, but also expect healing. God is not withdrawing, God is drawing near. The intensity you feel is evidence of closeness. God does not stir what God has abandoned. Before the final days of the year arrive, believers will realize that faith is not inherited, borrowed, or assumed. It is chosen daily. It is lived intentionally. It is surrendered continually. Those who choose surrender will experience peace that does not depend on circumstances. Those who choose resistance will feel unrest that cannot be explained away. I speak this not to alarm, but to awaken. The time ahead is not meant to destroy faith, but to define it. God is preparing a people who are rooted, resilient, and responsive. The days ahead will reveal who has built on obedience and who has relied on appearance. Yet even now, grace remains available. God is calling, inviting, urging hearts to respond while the door of preparation remains open. Listen closely, because this is a moment that will not repeat itself. What happens before the year turns will shape what follows after. Those who lean into God now will walk with confidence later. Those who seek truth now will stand firm when pressure increases. Those who surrender now will be entrusted with more. This is not the end of hope. It is the beginning of clarity. Not the collapse of faith, but its strengthening. Not abandonment, but alignment. God is faithful, God is present, and God is speaking to those willing to hear, calling them to rise beyond routine belief, into living faith, into obedience that costs something, into trust that holds nothing back, into a walk with God that reshapes everything they thought they knew about belief, commitment, and purpose, as the unseen hand of God continues to move, prepare, refine, and awaken hearts in ways that cannot be ignored or postponed any longer. Now hear this with humility and courage, because the next movement of God will not be recognized by noise, spectacle, or outward display. It will be recognized by transformation. Before the year completes its cycle, many will discover that God is not impressed by activity without obedience, nor by words without alignment. God is searching for hearts that tremble at truth, not voices that echo tradition. This is why many will feel an inward narrowing, as though the path is becoming more defined and less flexible. That narrowing is not restriction, it is direction. God is removing the excess so that purpose may become unmistakable. There will be moments when believers feel as though they are standing alone, misunderstood even by those who once walked beside them. Do not be shaken by this. God often isolates before God elevates. Isolation sharpens hearing. When distractions fall away, the voice of God becomes unmistakable. Those who endured this season without resentment will emerge with discernment that cannot be taught by human instruction. They will know when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent. Because intimacy with God produces clarity. Before the yea, our turns, many believers will face decisions that test integrity. These decisions may seem small on the surface, but they will carry spiritual weight. God is teaching that faithfulness in hidden moments prepares the soul for public responsibility. What you choose when no one is watching determines what God can entrust to you when others are. This is a season where shortcuts will be exposed and patience will be rewarded. Those who refuse compromise will experience inner peace that cannot be purchased or imitated. There will be a renewed seriousness about truth. Believers will grow weary of shallow explanations and surface-level answers. The hunger for substance will increase. God is stirring minds to seek wisdom, not merely comfort. This hunger will lead many to re-examine beliefs they accepted without reflection. God is not threatened by honest questions. God welcomes them. It is indifference that separates, not inquiry. Those who seek truth with sincerity will find themselves anchored, unshaken by confusion or fear. Expect an increase in responsibility. As awareness grows, accountability grows with it. God will not burden without equipping, but God will not excuse avoidance. Many will sense a call to act where they once observed, to speak where they once remained silent, to serve where they once hesitated. This will not come with applause. It will come with inner conviction. Obedience does not always feel powerful in the moment, but it releases power over time. Before the year closes, many believers will confront the reality of time. Days will feel more precious. Opportunities will feel more urgent. This is not panic. It is perspective. God is teaching that life is not endless postponement, but purposeful movement. Those who learn to number their days wisely will invest their energy where it matters most. Distractions will lose their shine. Meaning will take precedence over entertainment. This shift will feel sobering, but it will also feel freeing. There will be a deepening awareness that faith is not meant to be compartmentalized. God does not belong to one day, one space, or one activity. God claims every area of life. Before the year's end, many will realize that divided loyalty creates inner conflict. Alignment brings peace. When actions match conviction, the soul rests. God is calling believers to integrity that flows naturally, not performance that exhausts. Some will experience the unsettling realization that they have outgrown certain environments, conversations, and pursuits. This is not arrogance, it is maturation. Growth creates distance from what no longer nourishes. God is not asking believers to judge others, but to guard their own hearts. Where influence once pulled them away from truth, discernment will now draw boundaries. These boundaries will protect purpose and preserve peace. There will be moments of grief as believers release identities they built without God at the center. Letting go of false strength can feel like loss, yet what is surrendered will be replaced with something truer and stronger. God never takes without giving more. The exchange may be painful, but the outcome will be life-giving. Those who trust the process will discover that vulnerability before God becomes the birthplace of authentic strength. Before the year concludes, prayer will change for many. It will become less about asking and more about aligning, less about controlling outcomes and more about trusting direction. Silence will become as meaningful as words. Listening will become as sacred as speaking. God is teaching believers that relationship precedes request. When the heart is aligned, guidance flows naturally. Expect a renewed sensitivity to justice, mercy, and compassion. God is stirring conscience to respond to suffering, not with indifference, but with action. Faith that does not express itself through care becomes hollow. Many believers will feel compelled to step into spaces of need, not to be seen, but because obedience demands response. This will stretch comfort, but it will deepen purpose. There will be an unveiling of motive. Why you do what you do will matter more than what you do. God weighs intention as carefully as action. Service driven by recognition will feel empty. Service driven by obedience will feel fulfilling even when unseen. This distinction will become clear before the year turns, and many will adjust their direction accordingly. Some will experience a humbling of intellect. Knowledge without humility will reveal its limits. God resists pride but releases wisdom to the teachable. Those who admit they do not know everything will receive insight that cannot be gained through study alone. God delights in revealing truth to those who remain open and receptive. Before the close of the year, many believers will realize that fear has shaped more decisions than they admitted. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. God is confronting these fears not to shame, but to free. Trust cannot grow where fear dominates. As fear is acknowledged and surrendered, courage will rise. This courage will not eliminate risk, but it will strengthen resolve. There will be a reclaiming of identity. Believers will remember that they are not defined by past failure, current struggle, or external labels. Identity rooted in God cannot be shaken by circumstance. As this truth settles deeply, insecurity will loosen its grip. Confidence will grow quietly, not as arrogance, but as assurance. Expect moments when faith feels costly. Obedience will require saying no to opportunities that promise gain but compromise values. God is teaching that provision follows obedience, not other way around. Those who trust this principle will find that what they forego is replaced with what they truly need. Before the year ends, many will experience a renewed reverence. All will return. The awareness of God's holiness will deepen respect and humility. Casual familiarity will give way to sincere devotion. This reverence will not create distance, it will create depth. When God is honored rightly, relationship flourishes. There will be an invitation to perseverance. Some have grown weary, carrying disappointment quietly. God sees endurance that others overlook. Before the year closes, encouragement will come, sometimes through unexpected channels. Strength will be renewed, not because circumstances improve immediately, but because hope is restored. Believers will also be reminded that faith is communal, even when personal. Isolation without connection leads to distortion. God values unity that is rooted in truth. Before the year turns, many will seek deeper, more authentic connections built on honesty rather than appearance. These connections will sustain faith through future seasons. There will be clarity about purpose. Not everyone will receive dramatic direction, but many will gain quiet certainty about next steps. God does not reveal everything at once. Direction often comes one step at a time. Those who move faithfully with what they know will be guided further. As the year approaches its turning, believers will recognize that this season has not been about fear of what is coming, but preparation for what is entrusted. God is shaping character before releasing influence, integrity before opportunity, depth before expansion. Those who submit to this shaping will stand steady when responsibility increases. This is a refining season, but also a hopeful one. God is not withdrawing favor, God is defining it. Those who respond with humility, courage, and obedience will step into the coming days grounded, alert, and confident, not because circumstances are predictable, but because trust in God has become unshakable, alive, and active in every thought, decision, and desire as the unseen work continues, drawing hearts toward truth, alignment, and readiness without pause or retreat. Let your heart remain open, because what unfolds next will require discernment greater than emotion. Before the year reaches its final threshold, God will bring many believers into moments of divine tension, where comfort and calling stand opposite each other. In these moments, neutrality will no longer feel possible. Silence will feel like agreement, and delay will feel like refusal. God is teaching that obedience is not only about what you do, but about what you refuse to ignore. When truth stands before you, turning away is still a decision, and God is calling hearts to courageous clarity. Many will experience an internal reckoning with trust, not trust as a concept, but trust as a lived reality. When outcomes remain uncertain, when answers do not arrive on schedule, when effort does not produce immediate reward, faith will be tested at its roots. God is allowing this testing not to weaken belief, but to expose where faith has been placed in results rather than in God. Those who shift their trust fully will discover stability that does not depend on visible progress. There will be a stripping away of false urgency. Some have been driven by pressure rather than purpose, by comparison rather than conviction. God is slowing certain paths so that direction can be purified. What appears like delay is often protection. God knows which doors would distract, which opportunities would divide the heart, and which successes would damage integrity. Trusting God's timing will become a defining act of faith in the days ahead before the year concludes. Many believers will be confronted with the power of their own words. Speech will no longer feel neutral. Words spoken carelessly will carry weight, and words spoken with faith will release strength. God is reminding believers that language shapes inner life. Complaints weaken courage. Gratitude strengthens endurance. Truth spoken consistently realigns the mind. Those who learn to guard their speech will find their inner world transformed. There will be a deepening awareness that God is present not only in clarity, but also in mystery. Not every question will receive an immediate answer. Some truths will unfold slowly, requiring patience and humility. God is teaching believers to walk without complete visibility, trusting that guidance does not require full understanding. Those who demand certainty before obedience will remain stuck. That those who move with trust will find the path opening beneath their steps. Expect an increase in discernment regarding influence. Believers will become more aware of what shapes their thinking, their values, and their emotional responses. God is calling for intentional living. where influences are chosen wisely rather than absorbed unconsciously. What is consumed mentally and emotionally will be recognized as spiritual nourishment or spiritual drain. This awareness will lead many to adjust habits, relationships, and routines in pursuit of alignment. Before the year turns, humility will be tested. Success will tempt pride. Difficulty will tempt resentment. God is calling believers to a posture that remains teachable in both abundance and lack. Humility does not deny strength, it anchors it. Those who remain humble will receive guidance that proud hearts cannot perceive. God entrusts direction to those who listen more than they speak. There will be an invitation to forgiveness that feels undeserved and inconvenient. Old wounds may resurface, not to reopen pain, but to be healed fully. God knows that bitterness consumes energy meant for purpose. Forgiveness will not rewrite history, but it will release the future. Those who choose forgiveness will feel a lightness they had forgotten was possible. Some believers will sense a renewed call to stewardship. Possessions, time, and abilities will be viewed differently. God is reminding that everything entrusted is meant to serve a greater purpose. Waste will feel uncomfortable. Excess will feel heavy. Generosity will feel natural. This shift will not come from obligation, but from clarity. When purpose becomes clear, generosity becomes joyful. Before the year ends, faith will be redefined for many. It will no longer be measured by intensity of emotion, but by consistency of obedience. Feelings will fluctuate, but commitment will remain. God is teaching believers that faith is proven in ordinary days, not only in moments of inspiration. Daily alignment builds resilience that no sudden crisis can destroy. There will be moments when God's guidance feels counterintuitive. The direction given may challenge logic, expectation, or preference. This is where trust matures. God's wisdom often unfolds beyond immediate understanding. Those who obey without full explanation will later recognize the protection and precision in what was asked of them. Expect a strengthening of inner authority. As believers align more deeply with God, insecurity will diminish. Approval from others will lose its control. Decisions will be made with calm confidence rather than anxiety. This authority will not express itself through dominance, but through steadiness. A grounded soul does not need to prove itself. Before the year concludes, many will realize that endurance has shaped them more than success ever could. The seasons that required patience, restraint, and quiet faith. Fullness have produced depth that applause never builds. God values depth because depth sustains purpose. Those who have endured without recognition will carry wisdom that cannot be replicated. There will be renewed awareness of accountability, not only to God, but to conscience. Integrity will matter more than reputation. What is done in secret will weigh more than what is displayed publicly. God is restoring reverence for truth lived privately. This reverence will bring peace that performance never could. Some will feel called to speak truth with courage and compassion. Silence will no longer feel faithful when injustice or deception is present. God is awakening moral clarity. Speaking truth will require wisdom, timing, and humility, but it will also require bravery. Those who speak with love rather than anger will carry influence without hostility. Before the year turns, believers will recognize that hope is not denial of reality, but confidence in God's sovereignty. Hope will become steadier, less reactive, more rooted. It will no longer rise and fall with news or circumstance. This hope will strengthen resilience and calm the soul in uncertain moments. There will be a renewed understanding that faith is not escape from responsibility, but empowerment to carry it. God does not remove challenges to preserve comfort. God provides strength to fulfill purpose. Those who accept responsibility with trust will discover capacity they did not know they had. As the year approaches its final days, believers will sense that something within them has shifted. The desire to impress will fade. The desire to align will grow. Life will feel less about proving and more about becoming. This transformation will not be loud, but it will be deep. God is preparing hearts for what lies beyond the turning of the year, not by revealing every detail, but by forming character that can stand whatever comes. Those who allow this formation will stand steady, rooted in truth, responsive to guidance, and confident not in themselves, but in God. As the unseen work continues to unfold with precision, purpose, and unwavering faithfulness without interruption or conclusion. Stay attentive, because what God is shaping now will determine how believers stand when pressure intensifies. Before the year completes its course, many will recognize that faith has matured from expectation into responsibility. God is not merely inviting belief, God is calling for embodiment. What you say you trust must now be visible in how you live, how you decide, how you endure, and how you love. This realization will feel weighty, but it will also feel honest, because truth always carries both gravity and freedom. There will be moments when believers confront the limits of self-effort. Strength that once seemed sufficient will feel inadequate. Plans carefully constructed will encounter resistance. God allows this not to frustrate, but to redirect dependence. When human ability reaches its limit, trust finds its true anchor. Those who release control will discover that reliance on God produces steadiness, where striving only produced exhaustion. Before the year turns, many will face the discipline of waiting. Not passive waiting, but faithful endurance. God is restoring respect for patience in a culture addicted to immediacy. Waiting will refine desire, clarify motive, and strengthen resolve. Those who wait without bitterness will find that patience enlarges capacity. What arrives after faithful waiting is often carried with wisdom rather than recklessness. There will be an awakening to the cost of distraction. Many believers will realize how much energy has been drained by unnecessary worry, comparison, and noise. God is calling attention back to what is essential. Focus will become a spiritual discipline. When attention is guarded, peace increases. When peace increases, discernment sharpens. God is teaching that clarity often begins with simplicity. Expect moments of divine interruption. Plans may shift suddenly. Conversations may take unexpected turns. Opportunities may appear without warning. These interruptions are not random. God often redirects through disruption. Those who remain flexible in spirit will recognize guidance in what first appeared inconvenient. Resistance will create frustration, but surrender will reveal purpose. Before the year concludes, courage will be tested not through dramatic trials alone, but through daily faithfulness. Doing what is right repeatedly, even when it feels unnoticed, requires greater strength than occasional bold action. God honors consistency. The quiet courage of perseverance will shape character more deeply than any single moment of triumph. There will be renewed awareness that God is attentive to the inner life. Thoughts, intentions, and attitudes will feel more exposed. This is not condemnation, it is invitation. God is drawing believers toward inner alignment, where integrity flows naturally rather than being enforced externally. When the inner life is aligned, outward obedience becomes a joy rather than a burden. Some believers will encounter moments of deep conviction, recognizing where pride disguises itself as confidence. God resists self-exaltation because it isolates the soul. Humility reconnects the heart to truth. Those who willingly lower themselves will find their perspective lifted. God teaches that true elevation begins with surrender. Before the year turns, there will be a sharpening of conscience regarding honesty. Partial truth will feel heavy, rationalization will feel hollow. God is restoring reverence for integrity without negotiation. This may require difficult conversations and courageous admissions. Yet truth spoken with humility heals more than silence ever could. There will be a deepening, hunger for meaning, beyond personal success. Many will feel stirred to contribute, to serve, to build something that outlasts personal gain. God places this hunger within the heart to draw believers into purpose larger than themselves. When life is anchored in contribution, fulfillment replaces restlessness. Expect renewed awareness of gratitude. Gratitude will not be forced, it will rise naturally as perspective shifts. God is reminding believers that gratitude is not denial of difficulty, but recognition of faithfulness within it. A grateful heart remains soft even under pressure. Soft hearts receive guidance more readily than hardened ones. Before the year concludes, believers will sense that faith is becoming less theoretical and more embodied. Belief will move from discussion into demonstration. Values will be tested by action. God is shaping lives that speak truth even when words are absent. This embodiment will quietly influence others without manipulation or display. There will be moments of refinement where God challenges assumptions long held. Not all traditions are truth, and not all familiarity reflects alignment. God is patient, but God is also thorough. What does not reflect truth will eventually be questioned. Those willing to re-examine will grow stronger, not weaker. Some will feel a renewed call to discipline, not as punishment, but as preparation. Discipline of thought, discipline of time, discipline of desire. God uses discipline to protect what is valuable. Where discipline increases, freedom deepens. Structure creates space for growth, not restriction. Before the year turns, believers will realize that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of trust. External circumstances may remain uncertain, but inner stability will increase. God grants peace to those who release the need to control outcomes. This peace will guard the heart against fear and despair. There will be recognition that obedience does not always produce immediate comfort, but it always produces long-term strength. God is teaching believers to value endurance over ease. What strengthens the soul may challenge the flesh. Those who choose strength will stand firm when ease disappears. As the year approaches its final stretch, many will sense a quiet confidence forming within them. Not excitement rooted in prediction, but assurance rooted in trust. God is not revealing everything ahead, but God is ensuring that hearts are ready for whatever unfolds. Readiness matters more than foresight. Believers will come to understand that faith is not proven by how loudly it is declared, but by how deeply it is lived. God sees faith expressed in patience, honesty, courage, humility, and compassion. These qualities will define the faithful more than any external marker. This season is shaping witnesses through lives transformed, not arguments won. God is teaching that truth carried with humility carries greater weight than truth shouted with pride. Influence flows from alignment, not force. The days ahead will continue to call for attentiveness, surrender, and courage. God is forming a people who can carry responsibility without arrogance, authority without cruelty, conviction without hostility, and hope without illusion. As the work of refinement, awakening, and preparation continues to move steadily, deliberately, and faithfully through every willing heart, without pause, without retreat, and without final closure. Now the moment has come for honesty that reaches beyond words and into the core of who you are. Do not measure your life by intention alone, but by alignments. Stand still within yourself and allow God to search what you have avoided, to illuminate what you have postponed, to confront what you have protected. This is not a call to despair, but a call to courage. God is near to the sincere, attentive to the willing, and responsive to the humble. What you surrender now will become the foundation of what you are entrusted with next. Let this be the hour you stop negotiating with truth. Let this be the moment you choose depth over appearance, obedience over convenience, purpose over comfort. Examine your thoughts, your habits, your loyalties, and your direction, not with condemnation, but with reverence. Ask yourself whether your life reflects trust or routine, surrender or control. God is not asking for perfection, but for honesty that leads to transformation. When you turn fully toward God, even weakness becomes a doorway to strength. Rise with resolve and walk forward with intention. Do not wait for certainty before obedience or clarity before commitment. Take the step that integrity requires. Speak the truth you have withheld. Release the weight you were never meant to carry. Align your life with what you know to be right, even when it costs you something. God honors movement rooted in faith, and courage offered in humility never goes unseen. Let your heart be renewed, not by emotion that fades, but by conviction that endures. Walk closer to God, not as a ritual, but as a relationship shaped by trust, reverence, and daily surrender. Carry this awakening into every decision, every interaction, every quiet moment. May your life become a living response to God's call, steady, faithful, and fully aligned, so that when you stand grounded. When you speak with truth. And when you move forward, you move with confidence anchored not in yourself, but in God.